Say hey everybody, welcome back to Sorare FP. I'm Alex Hooper. Just talking a little more NBA today. Lock day here on Friday. I had a great week. My midweek went off. I'm very excited about it. Just wanted to get that out there out front. But I want to talk a little bit about risk. Some of the risk that you can take in your lineups that might make it better. I am generally very, very risk averse. If someone is questionable, I just don't play them. And that came back to hurt me. But I did get a little riskier this week, and it paid off for me in bunches. A ton of luck. I'm not trying to sit here and say that I had all the answers and that I expected some of the things to happen that happened. I certainly did not. But we're going to get into that. And then, of course, at the end, I'll give you some picks for the upcoming week. Hopefully you see it soon enough and can hop on those in the markets. Before we get going, of course, patreon.com/SorareFP. $5 for the projections, $10 for projections, pricing, the Discord, all of that. The link is in the bio. It's there. Come try us out. You won't regret it, I promise. So many people are having success. We had a lot of big weeks, including my own. I'm very excited about that. So yeah, patreon.com/SorareFP. Let me jump over to my lineups this week so we can talk a little bit about exactly what happened. Okay, here we are. So you can't see the prizes that I won. A couple of T2 commons and veteran and contender, whatever. Won a T3 here in limited contender. DeRozan hurt me here, and this is more of a throwaway. So you can see 2 top 35 finishes in rare. I am obviously very delighted. So let's get into that really quick. We're going to start here with this limited contender team. And again, we're just talking about some risks, some ways to change things up and maybe maximize some of your lineups. So if you look at this lineup, you'll see really 4 spots that are very questionable. And 3 of them paid off, and 1 did not. So, looking at the top here, Ja Morant and Tyus Jones. You have a starter and his direct backup. Going into the week, Ja Morant was questionable. He had 2 games. The Grizzlies had 2 games. And if you've been paying attention, you know that if Ja Morant sits, Tyus Jones is great. He steps into that role very well. One of the best direct backups in the league, as much as I hate to say that about a player from Duke. He's a fine player. He can shoot, he can pass, he can do it all. He can run that Grizzlies offense, and he's an asset to them. So going into this week, I mean, looking at contender, I really liked my options. Ja Morant was down at a 41 L10. I believe he's still that this week. So he's in the area of guys I will play in contender. Those mid-30s to low 40s, I will consider sneaking them in if I have the requisite value. So with the questionable tag and 2 games, I decided I'm going to play Ja, and I'm going to play Tyus Jones. I'm going to hope that Ja misses 1 game and that Jones plays the other. Sure enough, this happened. Ja sat game 1. Tyus Jones had his normal step-in game in game 2, in game 1, and then Ja came back for game 2, and he was, his current median and not the upside that I was hoping for, but this was still good enough for a T3. Now, obviously the rest of the lineup had something to do with that. McDaniels was pretty straightforward. A lot of injuries for the Hornets. Kelly Oubre missing kind of creates a lot of value for him. Now, the other 2 guys, something completely different. Montrezl Harrell, as most of you know, if you're paying attention, he steps directly in for Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid had missed some time. They said he had no timetable for return. Okay, that sounds like he's going to be out a while. So questionable. I'm playing Harrell, and I think he had a 13 L10 or an 11 L10, something like that. As you can see, that didn't work out. Embiid played both games. This was a risk. This was a risk I was incurring, and I'm going to go ahead and play him and hope. That's great. Didn't work out. On the other side, we see Gabe Vincent, 11 L10. he's a corner sitter. He doesn't do a ton. Now, Tyler Hero was questionable. Kyle Lowry was out. The first game, even Bam Adebayo was questionable. We've seen the Heat at times this year where they're just depleted, like fully depleted. They don't have a ton. And you see some Haywood Highsmiths and Orlando Robinson, guys like that step in. Now, the first game, Gabe Vincent was awful. Excuse me. 7 turnovers, just horrid. Game 2, it happens again. All those guys miss. And he puts up a career high in points. He has 6 assists, knocking down threes, all of this. So this was all luck. But I considered him, to get back to the point, I considered him because of all of the guys in front of him. And they started dropping like flies, and I was just like, all right, maybe one of them missed, and maybe I get a 22 to 25 out of that spot. Put that together with Harrell, 22, 25. To get this score, I need like a 29 out of Harrell, which is very, within his possible outcome range. So, 59 out of the 2 of them, if you told me going into the week, I would have taken it. How I got there, of course, was not what I expected. And then now you look at the score and you're like, oh, well, if Trez went off with another 27 points, I'm sitting at 209, and all of a sudden this is at least a T2, probably. Probably a T2. Probably doesn't get you up to T1 territory. You got to go gangbusters for that. But anyway, so there's a lot of risk here, and most of it paid off. The Morant Jones thing, I knew, if Ja plays 2 games, maybe he goes off, and then maybe Jones has a nice game, maybe a blowout, something like that, puts up his normal 22. All of a sudden, if I'm expecting a 60, hopefully upside out of Ja on a 22, get an 82, and that's what, 14? Yeah, 14 less than what they actually put up. So I raised the ceiling a little bit, or hope for a raised ceiling a little bit by playing both of them, and I got enough. I got what I want. I got more than I would have expected, if Ja played both games, obviously. But by taking that risk and understanding what might happen with these 2 games, I raised that ceiling a little bit. And again, Ja didn't hit his ceiling. So then there was the risk with Vincent and Harrell, and those were the guys that helped me fit in Ja and Jones and McDaniels. And then, it paid off. If Vincent has a normal game stepping into that role, then, I'm probably looking at like a T5 maybe. So this is kind of indicative of how much you need to go right in this game at this point. The user base has become so sharp. I think it was pretty soft early. I think I had a run of 5 to 6 straight game weeks where I won a tier 2 rare or limited in that stretch. And, obviously there's some regression. Obviously there's some variance, a lot of variance. And I haven't had that much success. But I had success this week by taking risks, and it's not always going to work out, but you're able to raise your ceiling if you understand exactly everything that's going on. It's about taking it a different level from, all right, this guy is hurt, and maybe I should play his backup, to, well, there are 2 games, can I get both things? And you kind of have to understand some different ways to different ceilings, and that's kind of what I'm trying to talk about here. So yeah, this could have been better, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth when Gabe Vincent gives me a 5X. I did not expect that whatsoever. All right, let's move to the contender and rare teams. Less risk here. Obviously, I played Vincent, and I was upset at first because I was 1 point away from getting Pat Connaughton in for Eric Gordon, and if I could have done that, I think 296 even was. That would have pushed me up even better. Yeah, that would have pushed me up to 15th. And that's really just a better tier 2. I got a tier 2 out of this lineup, so it's not a big deal. But I was upset about that, and I was also a point away from getting Jalen Brunson into this contender lineup. But he would have been in over Allen, and that only would have been a 9-point boost. 231 would have been, just a better T2. So it doesn't really matter. But again, I took the risk on Vincent. 3 games out of the Bucks, I knew that Giannis would sit 1, especially with a back-to-back. A 4-day game week and 3 games. That means there's a back-to-back, and guys like Giannis sit those. So Connaughton, I was actually hoping would go off in the later games, and he actually went worse as it went on. So that was the risk factor there, but that was the upside. I told a lot of people in the Patreon with that 3 games, I was like, play Javon Carter, and you can play him with Giannis if you really want. Giannis didn't have a good game in either of the 2 that he played, so that hurt you. But the people who played Javon Carter, understanding that with a 3-game week, he might have, some amount of run. I'm sure he's in here. So, yeah, he's in the first place lineup. So 50 burger, wow. Yeah, this is a great lineup. Hardaway's kind of whatever. That just worked out. But knowing that John might miss, playing Durant or Jones and Jackson is fantastic. The Gabe Vincent play, I explained that one already. And then Javon Carter with the 3 games. So here early with Giannis, he doesn't do much. That's kind of what happens with Javon Carter. Second game, he had an okay game. That's, more than 2x, that's fine. But understanding that he was going to sit, Javon Carter's a gunner, man. You can go out there and you can really risk it with him. So these are some of the things you can deduce before the game week. Like if I look at, here's another Gabe Vincent lineup, but so 3 games out of the Celtics, Marcus Smart missing, Malcolm Brogdon makes a lot of sense. You make that play. You knew about the Lakers stuff. You knew about the Suns stuff. So Bridges was a fine play. Butler made a ton of sense before the game week started because you knew about all those injuries and you knew that was just going to raise his usage a bit. Let's see. Any other surprise late risks here? Bay was known. See, a lot of this is just stuff. Okay, Brooks and Jones, another one where you're playing the John News and just hoping. And I'm not saying to do this all the time. Yeah, a lot of these are just it was known sorts of things. Playing Nerlens Noel here. I think we knew about Isaiah Stewart before the game week started, so that's fine. Then you get, the Butler and Vincent games. So yeah, that's that. There are risks that you can take, and they do pay off, as they did with, Javon Carter and understanding the Bucks, as they did with the Grizzlies, understanding what might happen with Ja Morant. And that's all I really wanted to talk about. Just make sure you understand the full scale, especially on a 4-day week. The difference between the weekend and one extra day, you're adding, 33% more games generally. And just understanding how things can start to skew with just that much more variance added. So I would do this more on 4-game weeks, or 4-day game weeks, midweeks, is what those are, because that's the only way it's going to happen. But just understand the risk of the injuries. Let's pull up the injury report really quick, and then maybe we can identify some possibilities that you might be able to look at. Let's share that again. All right, so here you go. These are the injuries we know of at the time. Let's just look at some outs. All right, Ayton out, so Biyombo makes sense. That's fine. You know how to do this. Let's look at game time decisions. All right, Bam, Allen. This needs to update it. All right, now we're back. All right, so Ayton's actually game time decision, so take that out. Giannis is a game time decision. You imagine he'll play. You really want to make these guesses when they're more informed. I believe they said Jaylen Brown was out in multiple weeks, so take that into consideration. That's more time for Brogdon and White. Anthony Edwards. You want to track the news there, and as things go along, think about D'Angelo Russell, think about Jalen Noel, guys like that who are going to directly step into Edwards' role on the floor. Let me check out their chart, their depth chart, rather, just so I'm not leading you down the wrong path. Yeah, so Jalen Noel, Taurean Prince, Austin Rivers gets some run. He's generally pretty cheap. Kyle Anderson, also a game time decision, so Jaden McDaniels. There's also way 2 here on RotoWire. All right, so this is not going to include these folks being out, Anderson, Edwards, and Prince. But if they are ruled out, they'll change it. And if you click on off-court stats, you'll see changes in usage. So Edwards gets a boost with these guys out, but who gets a boost when Edwards is out? It's going to be a lot more Russell, McDaniels, Gobert, stuff like that. So, okay. What other possible injuries are we looking at here? Talked about Brown, Amp. More Heat stuff, like Vincent might be okay, but they don't play. The Heat don't play until Saturday, so you're really waiting on some news there. Kevin Huerter might be out. That means Davion Mitchell and Terrence Davis could step in there. Jokic being out. Jamal Murray. Levine. Oh boy. Alex Caruso might make a lot of sense. More Heat. A lot of Phoenix. Prince. Staps being out. What's Beal's situation? He's back, isn't he? Oh, no, he's out. All right. Jordan Goodwin in that case. But you're just tracking, like, if you know the next step, oh, geez, Murray. If you know the next step past Porzingis, Nerlens Noel again, could be a nice play, then you can take a stab. Like, if there's not a better option, then you can take a stab there. That's all I'm trying to say. But this news is going to come out over the course of the day. Just if you know someone's direct backup, sometimes you can play them together depending on how many games they have, stuff like that. I think I've made my point there. All right, let's get into some values very quickly. Hopefully I can actually show you my screen effectively, unlike the last time I tried to do it. All right. Here are my top values. If you look up here, here's some of the low guys. Saric, Noel, Okogie, Cornette, Ben Mathurin, Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann I really like. Dwayne Washington I really like. I don't like to focus on these single-digit L10 guys as much as I like these guys who already have established roles on their team and can step in or like do well, have high points per minutes when they actually stay in. So you got a nice run of some of the more valuable high-end guys I like. Kessler, Lee. When you look at a guy like Obaji, it's just a 2X because he's expected to put up 10 on a very, very low L10. So you can expect some of that. TJ McConnell's another guy who might pop with some of these Indiana injuries. That feels like a I know better sort of situation. Dyson Daniels, though, I do like very much. So there you go. There are a couple options for you at the end of this week who don't necessarily require a ton of risk. But I just wanted to go over that. Nice shorter video today, 18 minutes, not that long. So, yeah, there you go. Take some risks if you want. You'll have to. It doesn't always pay out. It might hurt you in the end, but just know, try and take it to that second level thinking. Also, when you do sorts of that sort of thing, rather, there's some opportunities for some game theory and some ownership leverage, stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. Don't just go out there and hammer it, but if it's something where you're like, that might be better than if I just play, this other guy, then maybe go for it. Try it out. And maybe, a one-game week for someone, instead of risking that they'll have a great game then, look for one of those alternate opportunities. But, all right, we're going to get out of here. I swear more baseball content is coming soon. I'm excited for that. Patreon.com/Sorare FP. All this stuff. You can talk shop with me in Discord, things like that. Thanks for checking us out, and until next time, we'll talk to you.